see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes.
That was the biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. You know, like, hey, you know, life sucks sometimes, and you need the boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff
Yes.
the new cars just a little bit. I'm not gonna go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new content.
Confirmed.
But
Yes.
but
Hello and welcome back. This time it is the Spec Racer Ford, brought to you by Ray Esports. We are at Mid-Ohio Slow Motion Broadcasting. My name is Adam Thompson. In the booth with me this afternoon is Randall McGrew. Randall, Mid-Ohio, it always is a good race here. Always, 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 and I am so excited.
The often slept on Mid-Ohio. Its biggest drawback is that it's located in the middle of Ohio. If this track was in like Belgium or somewhere in Europe, people would not be able to stop talking about it. It is an incredible facility, an incredible racetrack, and I expect that we're going to have an incredible race today.
I think it is going to be incredible. I don't know how many more times you can say incredible, and that's it in Randall, but I'll just say it one more time. And speaking of incredible, let's look at the points, see who is being incredibly good at the top. Lace Plava in first place right now with 445 points. Jason Green hot on his heels, 439, with Claudio Gardini rounding out the top three in S1. In Spec 2, remember Spec 2 is 3,000 I rating and under, is Andrew Love at 289 points, starting to run away with it from Russell Telker. In second place with Arnis Jurcevics, and actually Joshua Wilkie only separated by 1 point, 194 and 193. Now the old guys, but not the slow guys, the masters, that is 60 and over. Got Jurg Mani in first place with Team Old Farts. That's the first time I've seen that. Antonio Reese there in second place at 351 points, and Tom Gradwell in third. So let's get right to it, Randall. We got a much bigger field today, or this afternoon, than we did for the Spec Racer or the Formula Fords earlier.
At 32 cars registered, 30 have set a lap time. I suspect that one of those 32 drivers will not start this race, but we will see. I think we're also going to see Jason Perry do his standard no quality, try to drive through the field operation again. One thing we're really going to have to keep an eye on in this race is the pit lane. The pit lane here is one of the shortest on the service, maybe the only one shorter than it would be Silverstone, now that they've increased the speed limit on it. We're going to jump on board for a lap. Possibly. It happens every time. We pick somebody and they abandon. It was Maurizio Naselli, your current pole sitter. And we'll try to find somebody else that's coming around on a lap. We have here Lace Plava, who's showing some pace, coming through the final sequence of corners, a quick left-hander on to the start-finish straight. And a quick run down to turn one. You're going to see him set up on the right side of the track. And he's backing out, so we're maybe not going to get a most representative lap here, but you can see he's going to dive to the inside. He goes a little bit wide on the apex. The really fast drivers will be on that curb. And then we're running the chicane layout, so we're breaking up the straightaway on the run up to the keyhole. It doesn't completely eliminate one of the best passing opportunities, but certainly makes it a dodgier prospect. Coming through what is now turn 4, normally turn 2, the keyhole. You want to get a nice late apex, get a good drive off this corner as this run down the straightaway, and the slipstream that you could get is going to present one of the best passing opportunities you will have on the approach to turn 6. We see him backing out, trying to make some space, and gets passed by another driver there. We'll try this again a little bit later in the lap. We'll start over on a fresh lap. So I'll talk about pit lane until we get back into that back straightaway. Pit lane here, very short. It has a very tricky entry that you must attack in order to maximize your speed on a pit lane. So got to attack that pit entry, and then pit exit spits you right out, basically into the racing line. where you'll be a little bit slower than drivers that are on track. In practice, we heard a little bit of argy-bargy going on with that pit exit, some drivers complaining, and some tense moments with drivers coming off pit lane in front of drivers on flying laps. So will definitely play a role in today's race at some point. We're going to jump on with Megan Overstreet. She's a few corners ahead from where we picked up before, but let's take it now. She's entering the final sequence of corners, a quick left-hander over the crest of the hill. It's hard to get right. And then the last two corners, a very long sweeping right hand. You'll see the pit entry there on the left, and then a quick left onto the start-finish straight. Maybe she'll throw together a complete lap that we can talk about.
Well, she ran purple there, final sector. We'll see where she ends up. That ends up putting her. Looks like it's going to be in the same spot, but let's see if she runs one more. She's in the slipstream right now of the 87 car. Gets up on that curb, though.
Yeah, the slipstream is a double-edged sword here. You definitely get the speed. Oh, she takes the chicane a little hot. You get the added speed on the straightaway, but if that car in front of you through some of the slower sections causes you to have to back off it'll end up costing you time. So you do want to get a slipstream, but you don't want to lose time in other parts of the track. Right now, the checkered flag has been displayed, so this will be her final attempt to improve her time as she follows the car ahead. That number 27 car going to move off to the right, let her go. She's going to get the benefit of the slipstream and now have a clear track ahead of her as she comes into turn 6 and turn 7. This long uphill and then downhill left is very tricky. You see they sacrifice a bit of the exit to open up the entry for turn number 8, then through 9. A quick right-hander that's actually pretty tricky to get right in turns 10, and then it leads into turn 11 down into Thunder Valley. Easy to run too wide there, so she uses all the track but doesn't go too far. An easy bend to the right. You want to keep the track all the way over, and then about that 150 board, you want to lift and start to brake for that quick left-hander, and then try to keep this car under control and get back to the throttle as early as you can. She's going to get a little too greedy there, going to choke off her exit and run wide, maybe pick up the off track. This lap may have been invalidated for her, but definitely not going to be faster.
Yeah, it looks like she ran a 1:34.929, and there she goes. But with that being said, we can see right now Megan Overstreet there in 5th place. Jeff Fritcher in 4th, and he is way ahead of Antonio Reese, who's right now in 8th. With Gradwell in 10th and Nunez in 11th. Those are your Masters drivers that are up there quite a ways. Yeah, Randall, this is looking like basically an S1 lockout at the moment.
Yeah, we do have a Masters up in P4. I think this is one of those tracks where you're really going to see the difference between Spec 1 and Spec 2, especially on the leaderboard. It's a much more technical track. Lots of ways to get the lap wrong here, and lots of opportunities over the space of 40 minutes to make any of those mistakes. So this is one of those tracks where it's going to separate the divisions a lot more than you would normally see.
It absolutely will. Just waiting now for the end of qualifying, and then we will, there we go. We will go ahead and get the grid for you guys.
A big grid today, 32 cars registered, possibly 32 taken to the grid, maybe only 31. Maurizio Naselli and that number 44 Alex Kart Racing Raptor entry sets the pole time with a 1:34.682. Starting alongside him is Aleix Pleva and the number 46 entry. Jason Green going to come P3 alongside Jeff Fritcher on the Masters pole. Megan Overstreet in 5th. Flavio Andalo in 6th. Joshua Justice and Antonio Reese make up the 4th row. Daniel Wood in 9th. Alongside Tom Gradwell in 10th. Kurt Nunez is going to start 11th alongside Jesus Rodriguez.
In 13th, we'll have Paolo Brime in 14th. Claudio Gardini, Brad Cathcart starting in 15th place. Actually, Paolo is going to be your first place for the Spec 2 class starting there in 13th. Brad Cathcart in 15th. Andrew Gilliland. It's been a long time since we've seen that name, Andrew. Hope you're doing well. Going to be starting in 16th place with Scott Russell at 17th. Paul Jackson running in 18th. Joshua Wilkie starting 19th with Ian Gibson rounding out your top 20. Then you've got Brewster, Telker, Kuhn, and Stevie Ray starting or rounding out your top 24. Then we go a little bit further back. We're not done yet, guys. We're going to keep going. Mike Knutson in 25th with Bob Kern 26th, Patrick Farragher in 27th, Wayne Buttermore 28th, Jason Greider and Andrea Favini in 29th and 30th, with Jorg Mani saying he's starting from the pits today. They're having a round of poker with Jason Perry. As you mentioned, Randall going to be doing Jason Perry things from the back of the field, so keep an eye on him and keep an eye on that timing tower on your left-hand side. See how many positions he makes up by the end of this race.
Starting there in was that P16, Andrew Gilliland, like you mentioned, a name we haven't seen in a while. That kid is fast in literally anything that he drives. So starting P2 in the Spec 2 division, expect to see him challenging for the Spec 2 win as long as he can keep the nose of the car clean.
Yeah, I mean, in that Spec 5 race that we used to, in the Spec 5 league that we used over here podcasting, he was always quick and just got quicker and quicker as the weeks went on. He was getting better and better, and now he does have a real-life seat, full-time drive, I believe, in a Miata, so congratulations on that, Andrew. But that's enough about that. Let's go racing.
Yeah, the field has now set off on its pace lap, or shortened pace lap, behind the iRacing pace car. It looks like they're going to be taking the normal starting line start instead of the IMSA-style start after the keyhole. Maurizio Naselli leads them down. The lights are on, and green flag is out. We're underway. Maurizio Naselli leads the pack into turn one. We see them 2 by 2 by 2. Not quite single file yet as they get into turn one. No real fireworks yet. And they're going to be relatively clean. It's a big pack to make its way through turn one.
Yep, doing great so far. About to come through turn. Well, yeah, this, man, great. Here we go. Do this. Yep, Randall, I'm going to go back to you because having this track, I do not know the turn numbers here, but they are on the backstretch here. And you mentioned wondering if they were going to do a rolling start like the IMSA starts. They did not. They went ahead and went at the start-finish line, but it doesn't look like we've got Mike Knutson may have jumped to the pits before the green flag, but it doesn't look like we've got any issues, as it looks like Jeff Fritsch are going to go for it down the inside. Not going to be able to make it happen. No, that's Lace Plava there, and now in P2 with Maurizio Naselli still leading them in P1, but back behind him, Jason Green getting a bit under pressure here. Flavio Andalo, Megan Overstreet battling as well. Antonio Reese and Tom Gradwell, both two masters, nose to tail as well. They are battling nose to tail throughout most of this field.
Yeah, the front part of the field, the front half of the field got itself into single file pretty quickly, but then we immediately saw drivers starting to poke, prod, and probe, trying to find where the drivers ahead of them were weak. Elish Plava defending that P2 position from Jeff Fritcher into turn 5. Seeing that in your mirror would make Maurizio Naselli absolutely be licking his chops and hoping that they fight more as he gets a chance to drive away.
Absolutely, and as we can see coming down the front stretch here, looks like there is a bit of battling going on. Someone was popped out, trying to take it too wide. Everybody getting single file. Normally turn 1, Randall, is a good place to overtake, but at Mid-Ohio, not really, because it's not a very hard braking zone. It's more of a sweeping corner.
It's a very high-speed corner, and you really have to have a lot more speed coming off the final corner in order to have any chance to make an overtake stick there. Normally, if you try to make a move, it just slows both cars down, and you'll end up with pressure from behind. So you won't see many moves there unless it's an absolutely bonsai move.
Yep, absolutely. Now, guys, very quickly here, we are going to have to do an overlay reload. I'm not getting the track map on the right-hand side, nor am I getting the battles box. So here in 1 second, we're going to get an overlay reload. So you're going to lose the overlays for half a second, then we'll be right back. But while that's happening, we can go ahead and keep on with the racing at the moment. Looks like Jim Brewster's just holding to himself back there, doing Jim Brewster things, middle pack. Old guy, kind of, using his wisdom to stay out of trouble. But speaking of trouble, Randall, there really hasn't been much.
There hasn't been much at all. We've seen Wayne Buttermore and Mike Knutson fall off the pace, off the back of the field a bit. But other than those two, maybe Jason Greider also with a bit of an incident in the early goings. But nothing major. We haven't seen anybody tow for repairs or anything like that so far. Right now, everybody seems to be just kind of sitting in place, playing the patience game, not really going for anything. We saw a bit of fighting on that first lap. Obviously, the start of the race is the best time to make any sort of positions. But as they settled in after a couple laps, we're just seeing just what seems to be patience, everybody running in a single file line and not a lot of action.
So far, all of these drivers, and right now, Jeff, you can see Alace Plava there leading for the S1 division. Jeff Fritcher in Masters right now, P3 overall, first in his division. And Andrew Gilliland, we were just talking about him. He has made some moves, very good moves, actually. Now, about to try to get around another one. That's Flavio Andalo that he's going to try to get around. Is he going to make it stick? Looks like he will. So Andrew Gilliland up into 12th. He is on a roll right now, Randall, up 4 positions.
Yeah, if you have that outside line into turn 5 or turn 6, you can if you can make it stick enough to stay alongside, you'll have the inside line for turn 7, and you can complete the pass there, which is what we saw Andrew Gilliland do. I suspect if this kid keeps showing up to races, they're going to force him up to Spec 1 because he is going to be lightning fast.
He is now, right now, sitting with a 2.34. That is his safety rating. His I rating, 1767, which I don't think is very, what's the word I'm looking for? That does not reflect his actual skill in this sim, for sure. I mean, look at Andrew, now has gapped Flavio Andalo and is now chasing Joshua Justice down. Next car on the track, and this is going to be for 11th place. Let's keep an eye on him. I think he's going place. Speaking of big movers, we've got Jason Perry up 5 positions already. We're only 5 minutes into this race.
Yeah, he's going to be making his way through the field. We'll see him probably give some of those spots back during the pit stop. He may be one of the early ones to pit. We've seen it the past couple of weeks play out like this, but normally he makes a lot of spots early on in the race, and as he gets to some of the faster cars, the spots come a little bit more slowly, but he does a really good job of working his way through the traffic.
And a bit of an off track there, it was showing me from Andrew Gilliland. Doesn't look like anything happened though, and you can see Joshua Justice pushing Claudio Gardini. That's the one thing with these cars that are not like the Formula Fords, Randall, is you can push in these a little bit. Is it faster? That's the question.
Yeah, you can push a little bit to get some lap time, but you're going to end up paying that back by overusing the tires. It's easy to overdrive these cars, and once the tires start to fall off, there's no coming back.
You are correct there. Joshua Justice trying to push Gardini further up the road, but let's look at Andrew Gilliland. He is coming, and he is coming in a hurry. Already onto the back of Joshua Justice. The question is, when is he going to make the move? Where is he going to make the move? Is he going to make the move? These are all questions that are going to work themselves out over time. 6.5 minutes into this race, and Andrew is not waiting around on the back of Joshua Justice. Is he going to try to make the move into turn 1? Doesn't look like he gets the greatest exit.
Not the greatest exit now, but he'll have the slipstream on the run up to the chicane to help him close that gap up, and we might see a move going into turn 6 this time through. However, Joshua Justice is also going to have that slipstream, so this could turn it into a 3-wide affair pretty quickly. Normally, Andrew Gilliland, while aggressive, is also wise beyond his years and tends to not get into too much trouble on the track, so we'll probably see him play this pretty smart.
Now we see Claudio Gardini again in the lead of this group right now, but for how long? Joshua Justice now sees Andrew Gilliland breathing down his neck. Joshua was pushing him. Is he going to go for a move this time, or is he going to still stay stuck to the back of Claudio Gardini? I don't know. You think Joshua has got to get a move on it. He knows that he is close to Claudio right now.
And I think Andrew Gilliland was letting a move develop if something was going to happen, giving Joshua Justice the benefit of having a free attack on Claudio. Joshua Justice not taking advantage of that. Gilliland probably saving a little fuel there, but now I expect next time, but through that same section of track, Andrew Gilliland is not going to be as passive and will probably attack Joshua Justice.
Yep, we got Dudu Castro in the chat. Dudu, how you doing this afternoon? Or, well, whatever time it is over where you're at. Thank you for the kind words. We got Andrew Gilliland going to try to make his way around the outside of Joshua Justice. Not happening. We do have the 28 car into the pits already. Is this going to be another very early pit stop like we saw in the first race?
Daniel Wood making his way to pit lane. We have Flavio Andalo as well. And Andalo was up with Megan Overstreet in that P5 area of the leaderboard and has made his way back down and was overtaken by Andrew Gilliland. So I wonder if maybe there had been an incident a few laps ago, and now he's coming in for service early. So we'll see how long they stay stationary. They were not stationary for very long, and it's a very short pit lane here. So they were only stationary for just over 9 seconds, both of the pair of them. So likely they're going to have to come in for fuel again. But we saw last race in the Formula Fords, Antonio Race came in just as early, and as I predicted, here goes Andrew Gilliland.
Yep, Gilliland to the inside of Joshua Justice. Justice made it easy for him. Just let him. He tries to go for the cutback, the over-under around the outside. We will see what happens here, but it doesn't look like Joshua Justice is going to have anything for Andrew. Now Andrew on his way to track down Claudio Gardini. This will be his 6th position, or it is 6th positions. Now Claudio Gardini, you can see, has moved up 5. A lot of these drivers have done very good, but Andrew Gilliland off the track, stays on the track. He is absolutely moving, putting more and more cars in between himself and his S2 rival, Paolo Brime, at the moment. Looking through the field here, we've got more battles up at the front. Jeff Fritcher now up into P2.
If Maurizio Naselli has lost the lead of this race, maybe we can find where that pass happened. Aleix Pleva has assumed the lead. So I suspect that there was an overtake for the lead, and Jeff Fritcher opportunistically made good on it as well and was able to get that spot away from Maurizio, and now is in 2nd place, right on the tail of Aleix Pleva. We see Megan Overstreet now in 4th place, has made her way around Jason Green, and then Antonio Reese is in 2nd in the Masters, 4 spots on the leaderboard behind Jeff Fritcher. Jeff Fritcher maybe looking to make a move.
Around the outside, too. This is going to be a bold one. Cotton, will it pay off for him? He breaks early, tries to get Pleva to go wide. Pleva's not going to bite, keeps that thing held to the inside of the track. Fritcher's going to have to fight or live another lap in 2nd place. But looking at that, it doesn't look like Fritcher really wants to make it happen. Like, he wants to be in first.
A good defense from Aleix Pleva, breaking much later there than Fritcher, and prevented him from staying alongside on the outside so that he could cover off the inside into turn 7 and retain that lead.
Absolutely, but again, we'll see how long Fritcher does stay behind Pleva. Looking back through the field here, we've got Overstreet still hanging on to her 5th place, but she is under massive pressure from Antonio Race and Tom Gradwell. You know what? Antonio Race, I'm telling you what, Randall, this guy is quick in whatever he drives. He's quick in the Formula Fords and very quick in the Spec 5s as well.
Yeah, we saw that Megan was ahead of Jason a lap ago, and now she's behind Jason again. So some fighting going on in that 2nd pack, allowing the top 3 to break away a little bit more. If they work together, they could probably track down these top 3, but it doesn't look like anybody's very interested in not running in the lead of that pack.
Honestly, that is very correct. And again, I mean, I feel like I've got some deja vu here. It's Megan Overstreet, Jason Green fighting, doing a great job with the battle. Very clean drivers. Looking like they're having a lot of fun up there, but we just saw a pass for the lead up front. Jeff Fritcher did get around Aleix Pleva. Aleix Pleva all the way back to 3rd place now, with Naselli back in 2nd.
It seems to be what happens. If you lose 1 spot, you tend to lose 2. So now Pleva shuffled back to 3rd. Fritcher going to have his chance to lead some laps here. The Masters division driver leading the way overall, showing all these young whippersnappers how it's done.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for making me almost spit my water out there, the way you said whippersnappers. But moving down the field here with Antonio Reese, 6th place right now. 2nd in division. He's got a long way to go to get up to Fritcher, especially with this battle that he's stuck in with Overstreet and Green and himself and Gradwell back behind him. Through the field a little more, Andrew Gilliland has gotten past Claudio Gardini as well. And it looks like whatever happened, Joshua Justice got past Gardini. Now Gilliland trying to get past Justice again. This is a massive battle going on back here.
There's lots of shuffling. It's easy whenever you're in a fight to both of you end up running wide or making a mistake, and then cars behind making good on that. And I suspect that's what happened, that sees Joshua Justice back in front of Andrew Gilliland. So Gilliland's in a position where he'll be able to make a move into turn 6 once again. I suspect that's what we'll see this lap. And then just in front of Justice is Jesus Rodriguez going to start feeling that pressure.
Yep, he absolutely will be. We'll stay on them for just a little while here down the backstretch, and then we're going to go through the field a little bit, kind of cover some of the drivers that don't normally get covered. We're actually going to go back to front this time, Randall. We'll change it up just a little bit. But right now, see if there's any moves happening. Gillen looks like he's going to stay pretty happy behind Justice. Justice doing okay behind Jesus Rodriguez at the moment. We will come back to that battle. But through the field, reverse order. Jason Grider, 32nd place. Hanging out back there about 4 seconds off of the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Stevie Ray with Wayne Buttermore in front of him. You can see it's kind of spread out back here. Mike Knudsen with Flavio Andallo sitting in 28th position. Daniel Wood, then Patrick Farragher, Bob Kern, Russell Telker with Darren Moon, and Jason Perry. Now, Jason Perry, we did mention that he is up 10 positions from his starting position because he does not qualify. And then Andrea Favini up 9 positions. A lot of these drivers, Jorg Mani up 11 positions with Jim Brewster right in front of him. Ian Gibson with Paul Jackson and Paolo Brime. We actually can see him in the pits. They had just pitted with Scott Russell now in 15th place. Joshua Wilkie, always a driver to look out for. Keep an eye on Joshua hanging on to the back of this battle. We were just covering with Brad Cathcart, Kurt Nunez, Claudio Gardini, Andrew Gilliland, and Joshua Justice. Jesus Rodriguez leading that pack at the moment. Tom Gradwell sitting in 7th position with Antonio Reese sitting in 6th. Second overall in the Masters. Jason Green now in 5th position. Megan Overstreet has gotten back around him again. Aleix Pleva is actually starting to fall back into their grips, Randall. Don't know quite what's happened to Aleix here.
Maybe a little bit of damage in that exchange for the lead possibly could have happened. Maybe he's used up his tires a little bit too much in defense of that lead that he ultimately lost. And like you said, fallen back into the grips of Overstreet and company behind her. So could be a real battle for the bottom step on the podium as the two leaders have a 2.5 second gap over these two. Or this group.
Yeah, and once these gaps start to form, they don't seem to really work their way back down from what I've started to notice. You will see, knowing Maurizio and Jeff, they will probably work together. They're probably not going to battle too much, knowing that they can gap the rest of these drivers and only make it a 2-car battle for the win instead of much more than that. It's always easier to deal with just one car in front of you or behind you rather than a car in front and multiple cars behind. So we'll see what they do working together on this one. But yeah, Randall, good race so far. Very, very clean.
So far, pretty clean. We haven't seen many off tracks. A couple drivers getting it wrong, coming into the Thunder Valley and running wide. Andrew Gilliland being one of those. We saw him do it. Stevie Ray has already pit. He pit on lap 7. So you know what that means. The pit window is officially open and been open for a few laps now. He stopped and was stationary for nearly 13 seconds. Paulo Bream came in and was also stationary for around 13 seconds. We saw Daniel Wood and Flavio Andallo come in very early and were both stationary for only 9 to 9.5 seconds. So they are almost certainly going to have to come in again for more fuel.
Yep, it's going to be interesting. But we thought that with Pleva, Antonio Reyes in the last race. He came in super early, had a much shorter pit stop than everybody else, or pit time in his box. He was still able to finish the race. And he wasn't even sputtering, so they might have got it right. Maybe people are over-fueling their vehicles just a little bit just to make sure they can make it to the end.
That could be the case, but I think we're really going to need to keep an eye on that pair of drivers in the closing stages of this race.
Yeah, well, we will see. We will see with Antonio Reese right now in 6th place. Gradwell right behind him. Jason Green in front of him. Overstreet, Pleva. Well, Pleva is now there. Pleva has fallen all the way back to Overstreet, but looking at this interval, it hasn't really gotten that much bigger. It's holding at around 2.5. They are definitely gapping them just a little bit, but Maurizio Nizelli looks very, very content right now to sit behind Richard.
Yeah, he doesn't seem interested in making a move yet. He's got a lap led already, so he has the bonus point for that. Doesn't necessarily feel that leading the most laps and getting one more bonus point is worth it in the situation. As we see, he runs a little bit wide there on entry and gonna lose a bit of time to Fritcher coming out of the keyhole, but he's gonna gain it all back in the slipstream.
Claudio Gardini on pit exit at the moment. We will see how this works out, because obviously he was in that battle with these drivers, with Joshua and Andrew and Kurt, all of these drivers up here. But we'll see. And speaking of Joshua, doesn't really look like he's doing the same thing he was doing earlier to Claudio. Seems very content to sit behind it. Actually, probably makes it a bit more difficult for Andrew to get around while Joshua's sitting in the slipstream like that.
Yeah, it definitely makes it harder. So we're seeing a bit more patience out of Andrew Gilliland this time behind Justice. Justice trying to track down Rodriguez and keep him there close for the maximum benefit of slipstream, and maybe to make a move in the next opportunity. It seems to be a little bit slower through the second sector of the track than Rodriguez and Gilliland. So we'll see how this plays out. We'll keep an eye on this race. Right now, up ahead of them, Overstreet doesn't seem very interested in overtaking Pleva either. So that gap may stay pretty static. In fact, it's gotten a couple tenths smaller since last time by, probably on the back of Naselli's poor run out of the keyhole.
There may be a bit of damage to Overstreet's left front fender as well. We're going to go here on Pleva and see if we can get a gearbox view. Oh yeah, she has massive damage, which might not be hurt or helping her in her overtaking opportunities or abilities.
You're absolutely right. I wonder exactly where that happened. Maybe was an incident with some of those positions that were shuffling around in that battle for fourth place that has become a battle for third place. I don't see any damage on anybody else around her, and I can't really think of anywhere that there's a barrier close to the track on that side of the car, as she's making an outside move on the run to turn 6. Going to cover it off before they even get there. So clearly the damage not affecting her top speed very much.
Now, I wonder, that curb on turn 1, the left-hand curb, would that create a damage like that if she hit that too hard or the wrong way?
That's really the only place I can think that would cause that sort of damage from a curb, and it's really not that severe, so I would be surprised. I suspect there may have been a little argy-bargy and a little touchy-touchy that caused that damage, and we might see some damage on the rear end of one of the drivers in that group, or possibly Flavio Andalo, who was racing with her earlier and had fallen back.
Oh, it looks like we have had an incident here. Claudio Gardini seems to have found his way off the track, and if I'm a betting man, I'm betting you it's that turn 1 curb on the brakes. Oh! Well,
just misses his braking mark and doesn't get it woed down in time, doesn't feel that turning the car in would have done anything, runs it off track, it calls for the tow truck, and maybe going to call it a day here.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to finish your day with Paul Jackson. Haven't talked about him, sitting there in 5th place at the moment. Nizelli still behind Fritcher. Fritcher doing very, very well right now.
Yeah, I think Naselli's playing the long game here and just playing a bit of a rope-a-dope, saving some fuel behind Fritcher, letting him lead the way, and then going to jump him in the pit stop and probably drive away from him at that point. But right now, sitting comfortably behind Fritcher, letting Fritcher lead some laps.
Yeah, he is, and doing a great job right now as well. Looking here at Overstreet, looks like remember that gap we were talking about, now up to 2.8 seconds. They have lost a little bit of time, and you wonder if Overstreet is in the lead of this pack with that front end damage. God, it cannot be doing much for her aero. It might not be hurting her as much as we think it is, because she is doing very, very well through these middle and low speed corners.
Yeah, just the fact that there was an overtake that took place, even though she didn't really compromise her speed too much, likely caused some of that gap to appear in front of them. And before that, there was a bad lap out of Naselli with the bad run out of the keyholes. We see Overstreet running a little bit wide on the approach to the penultimate corner. But yeah, it's going up, it's coming down. It's not being very static, but it is sticking around between 2.5 to 3 seconds lap to lap.
It is, and looks like Naselli is starting to put the pressure now on Fritcher. We're now halfway through this race, a little more than halfway through this race. We will see. And guys, I apologize. I'm turning my room right now into a hurricane. So if you can hear the fans in the background, I've mentioned this before. I've got no air conditioning. I live in northern Nevada, in Reno, Nevada, and it is going to be 105 degrees today. So just keep that in mind if you can hear what sounds like a hurricane going on in this room. We're trying to keep the PC cool to get through this race. It's doing great so far. But back to the leaders. Fritcher, Naselli, Randall, looking at it right now, I mean, and looking at, even though Fritcher is a master, it doesn't mean he is slow. His iRating is 5,000. Now, Nizelli, an 8,400 iRating. That is big. So if I was a betting man, I was going to say Nizelli, but Fritcher looks like he's keeping his composure very well right now.
So far, so good for Fritcher. Probably not paying much attention to that mirror. He knows that if Nizelli's going to pass him, it's going to be pretty apparent when it happens down the back straightaway, and probably not going to be going for any opportunistic moves in any of the bendier sections of the track. So putting some trust in the fast driver behind him and paying him little attention. We see Aleix Pleva has gotten back around Overstreet, and that gap is starting to come down. So Pleva finding some pace here in the middle section of this race.
He is, and you wonder, that's the other question, is who is driving? You can't really see much, but who is driving this car a little bit harder than everybody else? Are these tires going to last? Because it doesn't take much, really. Once you get these things overheated, it takes a long time. As Andrew Gilliland into the pits here, this is really going to be a good indicator of what happens with Andrew Gilliland in that battle with Joshua Justice. So keep an eye on him, and when Joshua Justice comes in, to see. Sitting in the pits right now, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds right now in the box. See when he decides to come out, now up to 10 seconds, 11 seconds, 13.8 seconds in the box. That's a longer pit stop than what we've seen.
Yeah, but while it's the slowest pit stop that we've seen so far, it may still be faster than Rodriguez and Justice's stops yet to have been played out. Speaking of pit lane time, Claudio Gardini, before he retired, had sat in his box for 9.8 seconds while refueling. So I suspect that he knew that he was going to have fuel trouble.
Yep.
And instead of pitting again and ruining his race, just decided to hang it up for the day.
Yeah, I think you might be right there. As we got an off track here from Bob Kern. Bob is gonna send it to the pits, it looks like. We'll see exactly what happened here to Bob.
Bob finds himself, I'm guessing that he got off track at the exit of the keyhole. We see him going through the keyhole now. Gets maybe just a little bit greedy on throttle, and there he is, way off into the kitty litter, and then back across the track, and has decided he has had enough of this stinking track and sends it back to the pit lane.
This is a difficult track, Randall. It really is. It's much more technical than it looks, and the elevation changes as well do not help, as you can see. I mean, it's up, down, left, right, nonstop, and it really can do a number to you, especially over 40 minutes when you're just, I know they run some longer races here, but it takes a lot out of you to run this track.
You have corners that have blindness due to elevation. You have corners that change elevation midway through. You have corners that change elevation and camber midway through. It is very tricky to get a lap right around here, and so easy to throw away time and make a big mistake.
Yep, absolutely. Looking here at the battle, still in first position, Richard Nizelli right now still holding steady. Pleva with the fastest lap now at 35.053. And that gap is actually starting to come down. And at this point, Pleva's going to be dragging the rest of these drivers up with him if they can stay glued to his back bumper. Watch that gap now down to 2.8 seconds. It was up to 3.3 there a couple laps ago. Now the question is, Randall, does he have enough time to get there?
He has plenty of time to get there if he has the pace. I suspect the pit strategy will see what really happens with this gap. It will probably get bigger or smaller significantly due to the pits, but it is still higher than it was a couple laps ago. It hadn't really gotten over 3 seconds, and it got up to 3.3, 3.4, and now is getting back down to 2.5, but in some corners going back up to nearly 3 seconds. So lots of fluctuation in this gap, lots of different lines by every driver through many of these corners.
Pleva is begging Nizelli right now, probably. I can't hear them, but begging Nizelli to try to pass Fritcher. All he needs is them to battle a couple corners, especially here, especially around some of these high-speed corners. There's basically one line. When you're going too wide, you guys are both slow. It's not going to take that much for Pleva to get back to the back of these two. Instead of a 2-car breakaway, it's going to be 4 or 5 cars in the contention for this win. That's what we want to see. I don't think that's what Nizelli and Fritcher want to see. We'll see what happens.
Patrick Farragher driving into the pit lane. We're reaching that point in the race where we're going to see many drivers come into pit lane probably this time by, and if not this time by, the next time by, as they're going to have about 30 minutes worth of fuel on board to start the race. So we're coming up close to that 30-minute mark. We're going to see a lot of action on pit lane over the next few minutes.
Yep, and we were just looking at Stevie Ray, and now we're looking at battle between Race Green over drivers. Going to be a good one at the end, Randall. I mean, we're looking at 8 now seconds up to from Ava. It has come down a little bit, but it's not as drastic as I think they wanted.
Not quite as close as they want to be, but they also don't want to slow each other down very much, and they're probably just right now interested in saving some fuel, maybe building up a little bit of a gap so they have space to run a fast in lap. We see Aleix Pleva and Overstreet both take to pit lane this time by. We'll see how many more come with them, but out of that group, they are the only two to come in this lap. We'll see the rest likely come in next time by.
Yep, and we'll see exactly what happens. But right now, with Race sitting in 4th position, Green 4 seconds at interval now. Oh my goodness, we got all kinds of stuff going on. Yes, and this is the next question: is when are these two gonna pit? They've been out here all alone. It looks like, yeah, like you said, Overstreet now on pit exit. This really could be good for her, and you wonder if these two in front are going to have to cover that off. It's going to be an interesting strategy, but it looks like she might be battling right now with Andrea Favini.
Yes, so Overstreet came out after a 9.48 second stop, so some of these drivers that stopped early may be good on fuel. She took the minimal amount of fuel necessary. Aleix Pleva still stuck on pit lane, 36, approaching 40 seconds now in the box. You have to wonder if he got a speeding penalty on entry. It doesn't look like the tires are in the air and the car's not on the jacks, so I don't think this is a case of him taking tires. I'm guessing that he got a speeding penalty on pit lane. He stayed in his box for 50 seconds. That's a 5 followed by a 0.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is. Dudu saying, no, I came to USA to take my son to summer school. Should be in next weekend. Well, welcome to the United States, Dudu. I'm glad you're got to see whatever state you're in. Hopefully it's a good one. But again, back to the
Nizelli in pit
Nizelli
lane
is now into the pitch. Fritcher stays out. Here we go. Where's Overstreet? Nizelli must be trying to cover off Overstreet here. Here comes Megan. She is a long way back, about to come into the final corner. We'll see into the carousel. It's going to be interesting here as Nizelli still in the pits, but he does have the first pit box, which helps him just a little bit. He's still there. Now he's out.
And he was only stationary for 8.72 seconds, so he took even less fuel. He was definitely playing the fuel game with Fritcher, using that slipstream and some lift and coast, and had to put in even less fuel, so that gap's going to be even bigger between him and Overstreet.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens now with Fritcher. I wonder if Fritcher saw that. Fritcher's going to have to do something here, going to have to try to cover him off now. I mean, I think Fritcher probably knows that he is in a rough spot right now. We got a battle between Tom Gradwell and Jason Green as well. These are the final 2 cars. So it's going to be final 2 cars that haven't pitted in that lead group yet. Brad Cathcart as well has not pitted. Kurt Nunez, one of the most beautiful paint jobs, I think, that in the Weekend Warriors Spec Racer Ford League. Sitting here in 4th position. All of these drivers have not pitted. So 1st through 6th have yet to pit. But again, Fritcher, I think you got to be getting a little bit worried. Now, the other question is, the one thing that Nizelli has to be careful of is to not get into any incidents right now. You've got to be super careful because not everybody's pitted in front of you. Just keep the car clean.
And we see him in front of Rodriguez now. Rodriguez yet to pit, and Fritcher in the pit lane, as well as Tom Gradwell and Joshua Justice. So we're going to see some battles resolve themselves through the pit strategy now, and watch to see how everything shakes out now that the entire lead group has come into the pits.
All right, now Fritcher sitting in the pit lane, waiting. Here comes Nizelli down the front stretch, and Nizelli is going to get him by a lot, actually. This is now Nizelli's race to lose. He played that pit strategy perfect, Randall.
Absolutely right. Fritcher was stationary for 2 seconds more than Nizelli was, and you can see what that gap has turned into. 2 seconds in the stop, plus whatever difference on attacking the pit entry. So Nizelli with a commanding lead now, and we'll see if he can drive away. Still has Rodriguez there on his tail, who needs the pit. So Rodriguez going to be the last of the pitters here, it looks like, in the front. We still have Jason Green and Brad Cathcart out front, and Kurt Nunez, who need to pit still.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rodriguez, again, content to The chat stacks some great names from the world of Weekend Warriors. Yes, that must be Tim Cox. Go ahead and messaging. But anyways, yes, Rodriguez is sitting right now right behind Nazelli, doing some fuel save, doing a great job, actually. This might help him out quite a bit. But watch out, because Fritcher's coming. Fritcher's coming very, very quickly. Look at that gap. It is closed so much within the last lap. That was a 1.5 second gap, Randall. Fritcher knows he has to go, and he has to go now.
Yeah, Fritcher not done talking in this race and wants to challenge for that win. Doesn't want to resign himself to the fact that Naselli was letting him win. He doesn't want to admit it. Naselli was not letting him win. He has something to say. He still has pace, and he is just outside of slipstream range, so he may be able to close this gap just a little bit. And if he does so, it's going to close a lot more, even quicker, as we see a car coming out of the pit lane going to introduce himself into this fight.
That's Nunez. Oh, that is not Nunez. I don't know who that is, but he's trying to stay out of the way. But that is going to compromise Fritcher's line into the chicane there. But looking like he's going to be okay at the moment. Again, 7 tenths, now 6 tenths. Randall, he's there. He's there.
He needs to have a perfect lap through the second sector of this lap. It needs to be absolutely perfect, and he will close that gap. He is within slipstream range. He's not going to close super quick this lap, but if he's in the same position next lap, expect to see it start to evaporate, as we will have a battle for the lead. Megan Overstreet comes out of this whole situation in third with a 1.5 lead over Jason Green, only about 4 seconds behind the lead pair.
Yeah, Megan did a great job in that pit stop, wondering if it was going to work. I mean, it worked great in Fritcher, honestly, and you look at that gap now, it's only now around 3 seconds, 4 seconds. It was about that before Megan came in, but nonetheless, Megan doing a great job. Another P3 to her name today would be awesome. Also to the chats, Marco, hello. Thank you for tuning in, watching with us. Got 16 viewers, guys. This is awesome to see. Michelle, Dudu, yeah, great strategy from Mauricio. Is it enough though? That's going to be the big question, because now Fritcher is the one that is going to be sitting in the catbird seat here. But can he get around him? Where is the best place to pass?
The best place to pass is going to still be in the entry to turn 6. Probably the outside move, keeping the car alongside if you cannot completely cover it off, and then have the inside line into 7. We've seen that be successful multiple times today, but he's going to have to outbrake Naselli into the turn 6, as we see Andrea Favini into the pit lane now.
Absolutely. Here we go. 4 minutes left in the race. I would say that's probably 2, maybe 3 more laps halfway through this lap as well. But we do have lap traffic. This is not when you want lap traffic. If you're Nazelli, if you had lights, you're flashing them, but he doesn't. So I would assume there might be some virtual fingers going up right now telling him to get out of the way, because Fritcher is on his tail.
The pressure is on. There will be no patience. There will be no give and take. They're coming to take the white flag this time by, possibly, or actually it looks like we'll be coming to 2 to go this time by. So Fritcher has some time to really put the screws down on Naselli and apply that pressure and see if he can generate a mistake. But Naselli not the type to really make mistakes, so he's going to have to be a pass. Fritcher might wait until the last lap to do it, but if an opportunity presents itself, I suspect we'll see the blue nose fill any hole that gets opened up.
They are now coming through the carousel.
Hey, there it is.
No!
There it is. Lap traffic making an impact causes Naselli to lock up, and Fritcher takes the opportunity to get around. We'll see if the lap traffic car moves over. It does not. They're going to be racing into turn 1. This is going to be bad.
Buttermore trying to get out of the way. But that was a great move from Naselli, actually blocking Fritcher in behind Buttermore. But now Fritcher back around the outside through the S's. Not going to make that one work. I'm sorry, that wasn't the S's, that was the chicane. But there is 1 more lap to go, maybe 2. Randall, like you said, this may be the penultimate lap, but we'll see. Now, can Fritcher get back by Naselli? They are racing and racing hard. Fritcher gonna send it somewhere. Naselli guarding the inside line, blocking, seeing what he can do here. Fritcher's gonna have to do it the hard way, the long way round, but the outside turns into the inside. If he can stay side by side with Naselli, he cannot.
Nazelli braking a little bit later and making sure that he covers off the exit. So doing a good job there. Fritcher's going to have to brake later if he's going to make that outside move work. Otherwise, he really needs to be on the inside. They will definitely be taking the white flag this time by. It's a minute 35 long lap, and they're at a minute 40 left in this race now. So we will see the white flag this time. Fritcher is going to have one more good shot to take the spot away from Nazelli, unless Nazelli makes another mistake. But they look pretty clean when it comes to when it comes to the lap traffic ahead of them. They have a long time before they encounter any other cars.
Yep, they really do. Yeah, 25 seconds. This is going to be an all-out brawl now. See if Fritcher tries to repay the favor going into turn 1 on Nazelli. He is right on the back of him, maybe trying to move him just a little bit. He is hooked onto the back of Nazelli. Backs off just a little bit. Looks like he's going to go for a move down the left-hand side. Thinks better of it, just shows the nose.
Absolutely, just showing the nose. And we see Nazelli runs a little bit wide there. Is it gonna? He looks like he's set up.
He's there.
Fritcher's gonna make a move into the chicane. I don't think it's gonna work out for him. He's gonna end up coming out behind, but he's gonna be in a good position for a run out of the keyhole, down the straight and into the run to turn 6. We'll see if he decides to try to take the inside or the outside again. He needs to, if he's not gonna outbrake him, he really needs to go for that inside line. So Nazelli defends the inside.
Yep, Nazelli to the inside again. Fritcher with the run to the outside. Fritcher going to have to be very brave on the brakes this time. Looks like he's a little bit ahead. Nazelli ahead as well. Fritcher going to stay side by side. They contact. Nazelli's around.
Nazelli goes around. Fritcher does exactly what he needed to do and keep it alongside. It looked like Nazelli ran a little bit wide at the apex. They come together. It was ultimately probably going to be deemed a racing incident. Nazelli comes off the worst for it, going to give up quite a few spots here, and Fritcher is going to have a clear shot for the win. Unless he comes into fuel trouble, Megan Overstreet is only 1 second behind her.
What's happening right now? Fritcher now way slow. 1 second now. Oh no, what's going on here? He's got one more corner. They were battling pretty hard. It looks like Fritcher's going to be able to hold on to it. Maybe he has one more corner to get this done. Megan, 1.1 seconds. Looking like it's going to be okay, but there is a battle behind us as well between Joshua Justice, Daniel Wood, Nazelli. What happened? Where did he go? Where did Gillen go back in 22nd? It doesn't matter, but here we go. Nazelli looking like he's going to come home in 5th place. 6th place, 7th place. What's going on with Nazelli?
Yeah, it looks like Nazelli maybe had a little bit of issues with fuel or possibly some damage. Lost the spot there at the line to Daniel Wood, going to come home 6th after he was the favorite to win this entire race.
Unbelievable here. We got Jesus Rodriguez, Joshua Wilkie, Breme, Favine, Nunez, Jason Perry crossing the line up. My goodness, we of course didn't look at Jason Perry as much as we should have. 15 positions for Jason he gained. Going back through here, Monty, Stevie Ray gonna finish right outside of the top 20 in 24th place with Russell Telker, Mike Knutson. Looks like he has just come across the line. And no, Mike Knutson about to come across the line. Apologies there. Looks like there's a poll as well. Who's doing all this stuff? Tim? I don't know what you're doing. You're confusing me right now, but yeah.
Aleix Pleva in the pit lane now showing 2 laps down, so we missed that. Something happened with Aleix Pleva, who was running in the top 5 in this race, that caused him to finish in the pit lane in 30th position. He did set the fastest lap on the day, so really interesting. Something happened to Pleva there in the closing stages of the race.
Real quick here, let's go back and see what exactly happened to Nazelli here on the inside. Obviously, there was
no quarter given, none taken, and 2 cars going for the same piece of tarmac. That might actually be on Fritcher, but I don't know if it's enough to warrant a penalty.
Yeah, that is going to be something for the stewards to decide. But with that being said, we do have some results for you here, Randall. Take it away.
Your overall winner and the Masters Division winner, Jeff Fritcher, comes home first, 1.1 seconds ahead of your Spec 1 winner, Megan Overstreet, in 2nd overall. Jason Green coming home 3rd with Tom Gradwell in 4th. Daniel Wood nipping 5th place away from Maurizio Nazelli at the very, very last moment. Mauricio finishing in 6th. Josh Justice, who is battling very hard with Jesus Rodriguez and Andrew Gilliland for most of the race, finishes in P7 as we see somebody going for a ride there in the background. Antonio Reese come home Masters P2 in P8. Flavio Andalo, who was racing up with Megan Overstreet at the beginning of this race, manages to come home in P9. Brad Cathcart in 10th. Jesus Rodriguez in P11. Joshua Wilkie with your Spec 2 win in P12. Paulo Bream, one of the early pitters, comes home in 13th. Andrea Favini comes home 14th. Kurt Nunez, one of Adam's favorite paint jobs in this league, comes home 15th. Scott Russell 16th. Jason Perry gains 15 spots. I want to call him the three-handed man because he always seems to gain 3 hands worth of positions in these races. Ian Gibson coming home in 18th.
19th position, we've got Paul Jackson with Jim Brewster coming home 20th. Jorg Monty, Andrew Gilliland, Darren Kuhn, Stevie Ray, Russell Telker round out your top 25 with Mike Newson, Patrick Farragher, Wayne Buttermore, Jason Greider, and Alace Pleva. Obviously with some issues that we didn't pick up on the stream, back in 30th position. With Bob Curd and Claudio Gardini finishing it out. So great racing. Now, it seems like we do have a Megan Overstreet. We don't have a Jeff Fritcher yet, but you know what, Randall? I think you may have. I think you found a Megan Overstreet somewhere in the pits.
Megan, here we are again an hour later after your good finish in the Formula Fords. You come home with the Spec 1 victory, 2nd place overall. You were embroiled in fights the entire race, it seemed like. Tell us what it was like out there.
Oh, I'm sweating so bad. The entire race, just battle after battle after battle, but it was incredibly fun. The only mistake that I made the entire time was whenever I pitted, I overshot my pit stall by the teeniest and tiniest of bits, so I had to reverse. Had I not had to do that, I could have possibly fought for the overall lead with Jeff and Maurizio.
Now, speaking of that chance for the win there at the end, how big did your eyes become whenever you saw Maurizio and Fritcher come together in turn 6?
Oh, I was just hoping that Maurizio wasn't going to end up in a lazy spin and then slide backwards into front of me or something. I was hoping to get by and be right on the tail of Jeff.
So we're talking to you a lot every weekend, it seems like. So I'm kind of running out of questions to ask you, Megan. So we're gonna have to go a little personal. When Megan Overstreet orders a pizza, what does it look like?
It's always a supreme pizza.
The works, huh? Just drag it through the garden. All right. Well, great finish here today. Congratulations on the Spec 1 win. And is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go celebrate?
As always, thank y'all for doing the broadcast. Stevie Ray for putting the league on. My always radiant maxi pad, Spec Racer Ford, for being fast as could be. And the people, everybody out there watching, and my family, thank y'all so much.
You heard it here first. Wings give you at least another 5 brake horsepower. Megan Overstreet, your Spec 1 winner, 2nd place overall. And Adam, have you found anybody to wrangle into the interview booth to follow that?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to beat that one, but I've been walking through the pit lane a little bit here and found a Joshua Justice. Joshua, welcome in. You did a great things today, up quite a few positions, finished 7th place overall, 5th in class. Tell me about your race. It was action-packed, man. You were racing with Andrew for quite a long time. Don't know what happened to Andrew, but you ended up being the leader of that pack you were racing with.
So what happened there was Andrew and Jesus were in the train with me. Jesus was in first, I was in second, and Andrew was in third behind me. Well, we all came down the straightaway, and coming out of keyhole, Jesus had a bit of a wobble. He didn't have a great exit, and I just decided to bump grab him. And what happened was Andrew said, "Nah, you're both going too slow," and tried to pad me on the inside. I backed out and let him go for it, and he knocked the brakes on it and China Beach, and he wiped both of them out. And so I was by myself for about 10 laps until I pit. And then when I went in the pit, I had my thumb on the wrong button. I had it on the visor tail off button instead of the stop fuel button. So I'm sitting there, I'm pressing the button. I'm like, why is my car not going? And I realized I'm pressing the wrong button. I switched button. So I ended up staying in the pit. And I took 2 more laps of fuel. So maybe a second and a half, something like that. And I came out of the pit, you know, and got met with Dan and Antonio, when I should have been by myself again. Cause I lost, like, just enough time that I was in Dan's draft, basically, and Dan was able to draft them both up to my rear bumper. And so we had a 3-car battle going at the end there. It's a little mistake, but that's all it takes sometimes when the race is this close, man.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like you had a great battle that whole time, and no matter what happened, it was always great racing. Extremely clean as well, Joshua. Congratulations on your 7th place overall, 5th in class. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go?
Well, you know, I always like to give a shout out to the guys at Spec Racer Ford down in Houston. They provide a lot of parts for my race car in real life. And they rent these cars out and they run the racing school and things like that. So those guys always do a good job. I'm always having to, send them a little bit of money for parts every now and then. But they do a great job in terms of getting the service and getting the parts on time and, in time for the race.
Yeah, absolutely, Joshua. And I understand how expensive it can be, but congratulations, and we hope to see or talk to you soon.
Yeah, all right, see ya.
That was Joshua Justice there, P7, 5th place overall. Now, Randall, walking through the pits here, I found someone, it took him a little while to get in. He had to quit drinking the champagne. We're talking to our Spec 2 winner, Joshua Wilkie.
How's it going?
Josh inheriting the win after some trouble with Andrew Gilliland. You were embroiled in some battles during that race, and you were in the midfield for most of this race. What was it like back there in all the traffic?
Yeah, I kind of got lost in there, to be honest. I wasn't really sure where I was. I was kind of pacing myself off of Brad Cathcart. I thought he was Spec 2. So I guess just keeping up to him got me where I was. I had no idea what happened out in front of me at all. I had a really bad pit stop and thought for sure I was probably in at least 3rd or 4th in class. I was kind of surprised to see that I pulled the win out.
So walk us through your pit strategy and the pit stop. How tricky did you find the pit lane?
Yeah, pit lane is a bit of a tricky one here for sure. It kind of comes up on you pretty fast. My strat was pretty much I just got past Brad, I believe. And I figured if I went into the pit, I would leave him with open air in front of him. So I jumped into the pit as soon as I got in front of him when I had a good lap, hoping that I would leave him in some open air. I kind of messed up coming out of the pit. I think on my first lap, I just shot through one of the corners and totally blew that strategy out of the water. But trying to keep up to him got me the win, I guess. So, yeah, that's that.
Joshua, we got a shout out, by the way, from Sim Racing Esports saying Joshua Wilkie, what a legend. So I don't know how legendary you are, but you've got a bit of a following, it looks like.
It looks like I do. Yeah, I'm not sure who that is, but thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well, congratulations on your Spec 2 win. And is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you get back to that champagne?
Yeah, I'd like to just thank my girl and stuff. It's her, she's out at her bridal shower this weekend and everything. We're getting married pretty soon, so big shout out to her. Yeah, and just my family and everything, and you guys for putting the broadcast on. It's great, and obviously all the drivers out there. Good times.
Well, congratulations on the win, and congratulations on your upcoming nuptials. And hopefully we'll talk to you again here in the coming weeks.
Right on. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
That was Joshua Justice, your Spec 2 winner, and Adam, what a race.
It was a very good race, and that was Joshua Wilkie. We did just finish talking to Joshua Justice.
You're right. I got my Joshuas mixed up.
It's okay. It's probably not going to be the first or the last time we make a mistake, as you guys have noticed on this broadcast. But yes, Randall, the race was intense, but it was clean. I mean, the only issue was the Fritcher Maurizio incident right at the end, but you almost expect that when you're going for a win, racing for a win after 40 minutes of good, tough, close racing like it was. You can't ask for much more than what we just saw, Randall.
Mid-Ohio, like I said in the intro, is a slept-on track. Do not sleep on Mid-Ohio. It is always exciting, even when they put that chicane in there. Still an exciting race, and it delivers almost non-stop action every time you see cars on it.
It absolutely does. But with that being said, speaking of nonstop action, we are not done yet this afternoon. We have a couple more for you, or one more for you tonight. 8:10 p.m. Eastern Time. Come watch yours truly race in the Asphalt Street Stocks with Cross Series League Racing. We're going to Spa. Going to be interesting in those street stocks. Then next Thursday at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, we're actually not going to be at Imola. We're going to be at VIR in the SimCar GT3 series. Always a fun watch. And then next Sunday at 1:45, Formula Ford's coming back for the Weekend Warriors. Actually, I missed one. Saturday, there are Formula Vs. The Weekend Warriors are going to be getting broadcasted again next Saturday, so look out for that. One's going to be fun. Then next Sunday, Formula Ford at Winton at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Time. And then again at 3:45 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to Daytona in the Spec Racer Ford. Randall, you have anything else?
No, that's everything for me. Enjoy your spa day in the street stocks.
Ah, yes. Yeah, there's the pun. Waiting for it, guys. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
I see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes. There's
that was
our
the
Budweiser.
biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. You know, like, hey, you
It
know,
is.
life sucks sometimes, and you
Yes.
boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff
Yes.
the new cars just a little bit. I'm not going to go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new
Conspiracy
content.
confirmed.
But
Yes.
but